The Special Purpose Command was a formation of the Russian Air Force, the strongest among the tactical aviation and anti-aircraft groupings. Its zone of responsibility amounted to 1.3 million square kilometers, taking in 40 million people, as well as the country's capital, Moscow. On July 1, 2009, it was superseded by the Aerospace Defense Operational Strategic Command. As a result of the Air Force reforms implemented on June 1, 1998, the Moscow district of the PVO and the 16th Air Army of VVS became a single entity, the Moscow district of the Air Force and Air Defense. According to Krasnaya Zvezda of 16 December 2002, the former Moscow district of the VVS and PVO was reorganized as the Special Purpose Command in September 2002. Interfax says the Moscow district was split into the reactivated 16th Air Army, a tactical force, and the Central Air Defense Zone, an air defense force. Pyotr Butovsky, writing in 2004, seems to indicate that the Special Purpose Command is merely essentially a redesignation of the former Moscow district. The rearrangement of the Moscow district of the VVS and PVO into the Special Purpose Command is apparently connected with plans in the long term for the military space defense of the Central Industrial Region. The initial commanding officer of the KSPN was General Lieutenant Yuri Solovyov, later promoted to Colonel General. The Moscow Air Defense District has a long history, dating back to the Second World War. Until 1950, MiG-15 interceptor regiments were concentrated in the Moscow district to protect the capital against U.S. bomber attack. After 1950's significant elements, the 64th Fighter Aviation Corps, were redeployed to fight in the Korean War. The district's commander was replaced shortly before the Matthias Rus affair in 1988 for insufficient support of Mikhail Gorbachev's perestroika policy. VVS and PVO units in the district in the late 1980s. In the last days of the Soviet Union there was a considerable Soviet Air Defense Forces presence, and a smaller Air Forces presence, in the Moscow Military District. The Air Forces of the Moscow Military District, alternately known as the 78th Air Army, consisted of a reconnaissance regiment, the 47th Guards Separate Reconnaissance Aviation Regiment at Shatlovo flying Su-24 MPs, and a 9th Fighter Aviation Division at Kubinka, with 4 regiments. The division incorporated the 32nd Guards Fighter Aviation Regiment, also at Shatlovo, with MiG-23 MLDs, the 234th Guards Fighter Aviation Regiment at Kubinka with MiG-29s, the 274th Fighter Bomber Aviation Regiment at Miglovo with Su-17s, and the 343rd Fighter Aviation Regiment at Senoy with MiG-29s. Also part of the force was a ground signals regiment, the 131st, 32nd Guards Fighter Aviation Regiment served in Cuba as part of Operation Anadir during the Cuban Missile Crisis of 1963. The regiment was temporarily renamed 213th Fighter Aviation Regiment while in Cuba. Joseph Stalin's son Vasily Stalin commanded the Moscow District Air Forces in the early 1950s. He was succeeded by General Colonel Stepan Krasovsky, Lieutenant General Stepan Rybanov, and, later, Lieutenant General Igor Dmitriev and Nikolai Antoshkin. Also part of the Moscow District Air Forces was the 4th Center for Combat Employment and Retraining of Personnel at Lipetsk. Moscow District Air Defense had been provided during the Second World War by initially the Moscow PVO Corps region. The Corps region headquarters then formed the Moscow Front PVO from 6 April 1942 to 10 July 1943. In turn, the Moscow Front PVO was redesignated as Headquarters, Special Moscow PVO Army. In 1948, the Northwestern Air Defense District was redesignated the Moscow Air Defense Region, which became the Moscow Air Defense District in 1950. In 1988, the Order of Lenin Moscow Air Defense District had 4 Air Defense Corps and a division, which included 11 fighter aviation regiments, 1 transport helicopter regiment, 28 anti-aircraft rocket regiments, and 4 radar brigades and regiments. The corps were the 2nd at Balashikha, 3rd at RZHEV, 7th at Kursk, and 16th at Gorky. One of the fighter regiments was the 472nd Fighter Aviation Regiment at Kursk. The 7th Air Defense Corps was redesignated the 7th Air Defense Division in the early 1990s. Source: Home. Headquarters: Bryansk, Bryansk Oblast, 1960 to 2001. 207th Communications Center, 153rd Fighter Aviation Regiment PVO, 472nd Fighter Aviation Regiment PVO, 108th Anti-Aircraft Missile Regiment, 260th Anti-Aircraft Missile Regiment, 563rd Anti-Aircraft Missile Regiment, 9th Radio Technical Brigade, 41st Radio Technical Brigade. The division was disbanded in 2001. Moscow Air Defense District Commanders. Source: 1948-80. Home Marshal of the Soviet Union Kirill Moskalenko, 1948-1953. Colonel General Nikolai Nikiforovich Nagorny, 1953–1954. Marshal of the Soviet Union Pavel Batitsky, 1954–1966. Colonel General Vasily Vasilievich Okunev, 1966–1970. Marshal of Aviation Alexander Koldanov, 1970–1975. Colonel General Boris Viktorovich Bochkov, 1975–1980. 1980–1987. Air Marshal Anatoly Konstantinov, 1987–1989. Colonel General V. Zarkov, 1989–1991. Colonel General Viktor Prudinov, 1991–1998. Colonel General Anatoly Kornukov, 16th Air Army. The 16th Air Army was the most important formation of the Special Purpose Command. Initially formed during the Second World War as a part of the Soviet Air Force, it was from c. 2002 to 2009 the Tactical Air Force component of the Moscow Military District, headquartered at Kubinka. The Army was formed on August 10, 1942 during the Battle of Stalingrad on the basis of military units and organizations of the 8th Air Army, and included the 228th and 291st Assault Aviation Divisions and 2 separate aviation regiments. The end of August, beginning of September came the 283rd Fighter Division and the 291st Mixed Aviation Division from the reserve of the headquarters added. The starting inventory stood on the 4th of September to 152 aircraft types Yak-1, Lag-3, Il-2 and P-2, until the beginning of the first jobs whose number has been increased to 300. It took part in Operation Uranus as part of the Don Front in November to December 1942, being commanded by Sergei Rudenko. It was involved in the Battle of Kursk, and was part of the First Belarusian Front for the Liberation of Belarus, the Lublin-Brest Offensive, and the assault on Berlin. For a long period after the war, the Army was stationed with the group of Soviet forces in Germany, headquartered at Zossen-Wunsdorf. In 1949, it was renamed the 24th Air Army, but was reformed as the 16th in 1968. On 29 April 1945, SDAVKA Directive No. 11,095 was issued, by which order the First Belarusian Front became the group of Soviet occupation forces in Germany. The order also promulgated the new structure of 16th Air Army, 3rd Bomber Aviation Corps, 183rd Bomber Aviation Division, 241st Bomber Aviation Division, 301st Bomber Aviation Division, 6th Bomber Aviation Corps, 113th Bomber Aviation Division, 326th Bomber Aviation Division, 334th Bomber Aviation Division, 6th Assault Aviation Corps, 197th Assault Aviation Division, 198th Assault Aviation Division, 2nd Guards Assault Aviation Division, 9th Assault Aviation Corps, 3rd Guards Assault Aviation Division, 300th Assault Aviation Division, 11th Guards Assault Aviation Division, 1st Guards Fighter Aviation Corps, 3rd Guards Fighter Aviation Division, 4th Guards Fighter Aviation Division, 240th Fighter Aviation Division, 3rd Fighter Aviation Corps, 265th Fighter Aviation Division, 278th Fighter Aviation Division, 286th Fighter Aviation Division, 13th Fighter Aviation Corps, 193rd Fighter Aviation Division, 283rd Fighter Aviation Division, 282nd Fighter Aviation Division, 9th Guards Night Bomber Aviation Division, 16th Independent Reconnaissance Aviation Regiment, 93rd Independent Artillery Correction Regiment, 98th Independent Artillery Correction Regiment, 226th Transport Aviation Regiment, 62nd Guards Aviation Regiment GVF, 919th Independent Communications Aviation Squadron. In its last years in Germany, it consisted of Headquarters, Zossen-Wunsdorf, 11 Independent Reconnaissance Wits Beskred Banner Order of Kutuzov Aviation Regiment, 226 Independent Mixed Aviation Regiment, 357 Independent Sturmover Aviation Regiment, 368 Independent Sturmover Aviation Regiment, 15th Reconnaissance Aviation Division, 6th Fighter Aviation Division, 16th Guards Fighter Aviation Division, 126th Fighter Aviation Division, 105th Fighter Bomber Aviation Division, 125th Fighter Aviation Division. The 16th Air Army ceremonially said farewell to Germany at the Sperrenburg Open Day on 27 May 1994. On the day, the Air Army headquarters was moved to Kubinka in the Moscow military district. However, the last aircraft from the 226th Separate Mixed Aviation Regiment did not leave Sperrenburg until 6 September 1994. A visiting Il-76MD was the last aircraft movement 3 days later. On 1 June 1998, the 16th Air Army was disbanded and its units incorporated into the Moscow district of VVS and PVO, in accordance with the amalgamation of the Air Forces and the Russian Air Defense Forces. This was quickly reversed, and on 25 November 1998, the 16th Composite Air Corps was re-raised. The 16th Composite Air Corps was reformed as the 16th Air Army on 1 February 2002. Savazlaka is another airbase within the Moscow military district's boundaries, but its exact operational status is currently unclear, as the formerly resident unit, the 54th Guards Fighter Aviation Regiment, was not listed as operational in the most widely available recent survey of Russian air power, which was done by Air Forces Monthly in August and September 2007. The 54th Guards Fighter Aviation Regiment had previously been withdrawn from Vanode Air Base in Latvia. Russian internet sources now say it has been reorganized as the 3958th Air Base. The 16th Air Army will soon receive 2 regiments of the advanced Su-34 full-back fighter bombers in the near future. General Belevich said the 16th Air Army would also receive MiG-29 Fulcrum fighters to replace outdated MiG-29s and modernized Su-25 Frogfoot close support aircraft, which showed outstanding performance during operations in Afghanistan, Chechnya and other hotspots. 2007 structure. In 2009 the Russian Air Force was extensively reorganized. This structure is not current. Combat Aircraft magazine's June 2010 issue gives some details of the new structure. 47th Reconnaissance Aviation Regiment, Shatlovo, MiG-25 and Su-24 Mr. in service. 237th Air Technology Demonstration Center of Guards, Kubinka, MiG-29, Su-27, Su-27M, L-39C. 226th Separate Mixed Aviation Regiment, Kubinka, Mi-8, Mi-9, and 12, and 24, and 26, and 30. 37th Air Defense Division 4 SAM regiments in total. 790th Fighter Aviation Regiment, Kotlovo, MiG-31, MiG-25U. 490th Independent Helicopter Regiment for Battle Control, Klokovo, Mi-24, Mi-8. 865th Reserve Helicopter Base, Protasovo, Alexandrovo, near Ryazan.